Others feel there is more of a case for the theory. Harnessing the wind would not have been a problem for accomplished sailors like the Egyptians, and they are known to have used wooden pulleys, which could have been made strong enough to bear the weight of massive blocks of stone. In addition, there is some physical evidence that the ancient Egyptians were interested in flight. A wooden artifact found on the Step Pyramid at Saqqara looks uncannily like a modern glider, although it dates from several hundred years after the building of the pyramids. Its sophistication suggests that the Egyptians might have been developing ideas of flight for a long time. The climate needs to be hot wet or hot temperate, between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, with frequent rains and temperatures varying from 15 to 25 degrees C. The soil should be deep, hard, permeable, well irrigated, with well-drained subsoil. The best lands are the hilly ones, or from just tilled woods. The perfect altitude is between 600 and 1,200 meters, though some varieties thrive at 2,200 meters. Cultivation aimed at protecting the plants at every stage of growth is needed. Sowing should be in sheltered nurseries from which, after about 6 months, the seedlings should be moved to plantations in the rainy season, where they are usually alternated with other plants to shield them from wind and excessive sunlight. The pulped beans then rest, covered in pure rainwater to ferment overnight. The next day the wet beans are hand-distributed upon the drying floor to be sun-dried. This drying process takes from 1 to 2 weeks depending on the amount of sunny days available. To make sure they dry evenly, the beans need to be raked many times during this drying time. 2 weeks later the sun-dried beans, now called parchment, are scooped up, bagged and taken to be milled. Huge milling machines then remove the parchment and silver skin, which renders a green bean suitable for roasting. The green beans are roasted according to the customer's specifications, and, after cooling, the beans are then packaged and mailed to customers.
An audio tape recording does not solve all the linguist's problems, however. Speech is often unclear and ambiguous. Where possible, therefore, the recording has to be supplemented by the observer's written comments on the nonverbal behavior of the participants, and about the context in general. A facial expression, for example, can dramatically alter the meaning of what is said. Video recordings avoid these problems to a large extent, but even they have limitations. The camera cannot be everywhere, and transcriptions always benefit from any additional commentary provided by an observer. Often, when studying their mother tongue, linguists act as their own informants, judging the ambiguity, acceptability, or other properties of utterances against their own intuitions. The convenience of this approach makes it widely used, and it is considered the norm in the generative approach to linguistics. But a linguist's personal judgments are often uncertain, or disagree with the judgments of other linguists, at which point recourse is needed to more objective methods of inquiry, using non-linguists as informants. The latter procedure is unavoidable when working on foreign languages, or child speech. In any event, there can be no doubt that the era of the rock climber as a lone wolf or intrepid pioneer is over. Like many other forms of recreation, rock climbing has increasingly come under the fold of institutional efforts to curb dangerous behavior and properly manage our natural environments. This may have spoiled the magic, but it has also made the sport safer and more sustainable, and governing bodies would do well to consider heightening such efforts in the future.
Governments require sellers of new medicines to demonstrate their safety and effectiveness. The accepted gold standard of evidence is a randomized control trial, in which a new drug is compared with the best existing therapy, or with a placebo, if no treatment is available. Patients are assigned to one arm or the other of such a study at random, ensuring that the only difference between the two groups is the new treatment. The best studies also ensure that neither patient nor physician knows which patient is allocated to which therapy. Drug trials must also include enough patients to make it unlikely that chance alone may determine the result.
And in Japan, there is a widespread belief that all children are born with the same innate abilities, and should, therefore, be treated alike. All are taught together, covering the same syllabus at the same rate, until they finish compulsory schooling. Those who learn quickest are expected then to teach their classmates. In China, extra teaching is provided, but to a self-selected bunch. Children's palaces in big cities offer a huge range of after-school classes. Anyone can sign up. All that is asked is excellent attendance.
An apparent example of random allocation is a study carried out in 1927 of how to persuade people to vote in elections. And randomized trials in social work were begun in the 1930s and 1940s, but enthusiasm later waned. This loss of interest can be attributed, at least in part, to the fact that early experiments produced little evidence of positive outcomes. Others suggest that much of the opposition to experimental evaluation stems from a common philosophical malaise among social scientists, who doubt the validity of the natural sciences and therefore reject the potential of knowledge derived from controlled experiments. A more pragmatic factor limiting the growth of evidence-based education and social services may be limitations on the funds available for research.
The sense of touch has sometimes been described as weak too, but this view is probably mistaken. Trainers of captive dolphins and small whales often remark on their animals' responsiveness to being touched or rubbed, and both captive and free-ranging cetacean individuals of all species, particularly adults and calves, or members of the same subgroup, appear to make frequent contact. This contact may help to maintain order within a group, and stroking or touching are part of the courtship ritual in most species. The area around the blowhole is also particularly sensitive, and captive animals often object strongly to being touched there.
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.